All right, I'm here with Hannah Tamaki, the leader of Vision New Zealand. Not only that, but you are also a great grandmother.
Absolutely. I'm a really great one. I'm a great grandmother. Not great, but I'm really great at it.
And of how many?
5.
5?
Yeah, 5 greats, 10 grandchildren, 3 children. So, yes, we've done very well.
Quite the generational family.
5 generations.
But you've previously shared that your first pregnancy was actually as a teenager? Yeah,
teenager, young. Not that I thought it was unplanned or anything, when you're doing the business where things do happen. But I think it took me a little while to actually realise I was pregnant. I found out I was pregnant at about 3 months, and I rang somebody and they actually sort of said, "Oh, do you want to have an abortion?" I said, "Oh, I don't think so." But anyway, then I had my our eldest daughter. She was born prematurely at 39, nearly 40 weeks. So 29, sorry. She was 2.5 pounds born. She was just very little, very vulnerable little baby. And so for me, the journey of, nurturing this little baby to full health. By the time we took her home, she was like nearly two months old, and she was only like 5.5 pounds at that time. And so it was quite stressful, but it pulls on your heartstrings because you really do have, you love your baby and there's not much you can do. You've got to trust other people with the care. Bringing in the very harsh, cruel, murderous, extreme dates now that right up to birth, they want abortion. I just don't believe that murdering any baby at any time is right. I know that if a partner abuses his partner and she's pregnant, and he can be charged with murder, but she can go off to seek an abortion and she's not charged with murder. So I just think that there's such a slippery slope in any form of abortion, to be honest. And so what are they waiting for? Are they waiting to see if the baby's the sex they want to have? Does the baby have complications? Will the baby, they've had a bust up, so the baby's going to upset their lives. He wants her not to have it. The parents don't want to. And, you sort of think, this is sort of like the Stone Age, where people are feeling that they're embarrassed that maybe their teenage daughter or their niece or somebody's having a baby outside of wedlock because she's a teenager, and they are still, parents and grandparents are still putting pressure on young girls. I hope that stops soon. So I think us having a pushback. So I am totally pro-life. God is the giver of life and he should be the taker of life. And I know that there are families who have carried, the women have carried the baby up to full term and the baby's been born and stillborn, and those parents grieve for that child. And then you see other parents that are like, they're waiting to see what the sex of their baby is, and,
So it was decriminalised only in 2020 here. Which is only 5 years ago.
And haven't they just not long done it in Australia?
Yeah, so now it's up to birth for any reason across the entire country.
So they can murder a child for the sake of the mother changes their mind, or the husband puts pressure on.
Psychosocial reasons, they say, is the technical term, but that covers anything. Because it could be stress, it could be financial, it could be, like you said, a teenage pregnancy. But for the 2023 statistics in New Zealand, I saw it said 141 babies were late-term abortions. And they didn't give the exact specificities of why, but they said it wasn't because of disabilities. It was mainly for psychosocial reasons.
Okay.
So like what you just said, maybe it was a teenage girl who was facing a pregnancy and her parents pressured her or
broke up with the boyfriend.
Yes, or she was in a domestic violent relationship. But now also, and it's the same in Australia, there's no mandatory reporting if a teenage girl comes to you as a youth worker or a teacher and asks for advice of having an abortion, or shares with you that she has had one, you do not have any legal responsibility to tell her parents.
Yeah, well, that's really sad, because a lot of grandparents are missing out on the opportunity of being grandparents. I actually think that it's not so much teenagers now that are aborting. I think it's more older women, maybe professionals, and they've gone through an issue. They thought this would be fine, and all of a sudden they realise, oh my gosh, my life's going to change. I don't want it to change, so, you know, I'm going to terminate this pregnancy. And I think that, to be honest, look, back in 2020, we launched Vision New Zealand, and we started, and of course, I am a person of faith, and I had, you know, as I've shared with you, had 3 premature babies, so 2.5, 4.5, 6.5, closest to a full-term baby, our last one. But the whole thing for me is that every life is valuable, and really, why are people okay with terminating the life of an innocent child? We're all here because our parents made a decision, but the selfishness of the generations that we live in, it becomes all about them. And so, you know, I feel I'm having a headache today. Oh my gosh, I think this pregnancy is going to ruin my life. So you can go and say, look, psychologically, I'm not capable of caring for a child. But then when babies, well, you know, up to 3 or 4 are murdered, they go hunting the killer down. But to be honest, I think it's crueler to murder a child that's done nothing over a child that annoys you, or you're not the father of it, and you have this issue. How anyone can think that murdering an innocent child, the womb is supposed to be the safest place. So in 2020, when we stood, when I stood for Vision New Zealand, I think I'm even online saying it in a TV interview, where I said, no, I'm pro-life. I will always be pro-life. I've had a premature baby. I know that those babies can live with the right assistance. Then when they say that a baby can be born, the mother decides she doesn't want it, but the abortion fails and the baby's there, the medical team can walk away and leave that child to die. Now, to me, that's barbaric. It's not right. So why do people think that that's okay?
And it was here in New Zealand before Australia that was put into law.
Well, I'm not surprised, because we've got a very woke.
Well, in 5 years, it's absolutely shocking. But for you to say that you were pregnant as a teenager, and even you were offered an abortion or suggested, but you chose life.
Exactly.
And it was your understanding of the value of life, and that the baby inside of you during that pregnancy was in fact a human being. Was a baby, because that's what we're debating about in Australia. It's
not a mess; it's actually a baby. And I see sometimes you see the pictures of, hey, that's a whale, that's a fish, that's a, and then they see a baby and they say that's a mess. What's wrong with those people? How do they sleep at night to think that that's okay? So I think that for me, regardless of what people think, I will keep pushing back. That'll be, I'm very consistent. I mean, I can stand up and play everything that we said back in 2020 and still stand exactly on the same platform saying it today.
Well, I haven't seen any other party have such a pro-life policy as Vision New Zealand does.
Well, if they feel it in their heart, they need to speak it out. If they're part of a party that condone abortion or taking of life, murder, I would say, then I think they need to stand up and say, so that people can say, well, look, if this person stands for on their conviction, they'll push back for us. I think a lot of the time people live in hope that if they'll put somebody in there, they'll make a difference. But unless the leader... Unless your leader is prepared to say, this is across the board for everybody that's in like Vision New Zealand. If you don't agree with it, then I'd prefer that you weren't part of my party, to be honest, because I'm not going to compromise. So there are so many things I will not compromise on, and that is probably the main factor. Life is life. We could create a life, but God is the giver of life, and only really He has the right to take that life away.
We recently had our federal elections in Australia, and one of the campaigns that we put forward was that your stance on abortion was the litmus test of you as a human being and as a Christian or as a person of faith, that you would hold your vote to the value of what you would hold the human being in the womb. And for anybody that could vote for a politician or a party that didn't have what you're saying Vision New Zealand has, that clear line in the sand of every baby, every Kiwi inside or outside of the womb matters.
Yes.
Because the thing that we often get attacked about in Australia is they say you don't do enough for women. And what I see here with you and what you've done for decades now is advocate on behalf of not only women, but the babies and the families.
And I think, you know, we're very tribal, I suppose, in our culture. And so you'll always have somebody that will help care for a child. If they know that somebody is struggling, they're not going to leave them struggling. And I think that people just think they're going to be on their own, they're going to be isolated. But all of us were given life. Our mothers had us, and we don't know what they were going through at the time, but they pushed through and had us, and we made it. And I think it's disgusting that people that have made it, where their mother may have thought about it but decided not to, are now making these decisions. So are they happy for the next lot of people to make a decision? Euthanasia's in there now. So, okay, so your husband doesn't want you, your wife doesn't want you, so you can euthanize them too now. Are we going to get to that sort of stage? Are we going to start harvesting organs of these babies? So will professional people say that if a young girl says, oh, look, I'm considering it, could they talk that young woman into, say, going 8-9 months and saying, look, you know, you're right in your decision. Then they've got all the organs they want. And to be honest, I think that is part of it. Then is there a burial for that child? Or is it just shoved aside? Is there a burial? And I think I've been sharing a lot about an island where they had all those babies in the septic tanks and stuff. And, you know, over 700. And they said that they had birth certificates of their birth, some of them, but there was never a burial certificate. And so, you know, just to throw a child away, throw a life away, to me, it is barbaric and it's not acceptable.
For them to not even have mandatory reporting of these babies being born alive and
that
left
is
to
in
die.
the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
So,
but, you know, now that's brought back with the change in laws. I mean, what you're standing for is in fact now radical. It shouldn't be, because 17,000 babies every year in New Zealand are aborted, but 88,000 in Australia. And it's legal now. Up till birth for any reason. But I think what you are saying, and I'd ask what your advice would be as an advocate for women and for babies and for families, and as a great-grandmother and as the leader of Vision New Zealand, women who are facing unplanned pregnancies like you did and are scared or feeling alone or uncertain or don't even know what to think about any of this, what would you say to them? We have a lot of young women that would want to hear.
Well, I think there's a lot more support around these days than there ever was. You know, you're going back 20, 30 years. I don't agree that girls should just use a baby as a financial support for their life because they're not working. And sadly that's some people go, oh well, look, at least I can go on the benefit, you know, and I've got raised this baby, and they have this beautiful fantasy in their mind of what it's going to be. Well, it's not going to be that. And I think the more honest the people around these women are with, hey, it's going to be hard, there's going to be struggles, the baby's going to cry, hey, even breastfeeding is going to be painful sometimes. All those things accumulated in people's minds makes them think that I'm better off not to have a child. But reality is they're precious little gifts. And to be honest, like I said before, I think that it's more older, mature women that are making these decisions, and perhaps people of faith are embarrassed. And I think we've heard a story of a woman whose father was a minister, and he said, you're going to have an abortion, you're going to be taken away. And in the end, she runs away. I think we heard the testimony in Wellington a few years ago. She runs away. Her sister and her run away together. The baby, she has the baby, nurtures the baby, and she had this lovely young man with her. And she tells her story. Now, how many women do not have the courage, but afterwards have mental and psychological issues because they were talked into or forced to do something they really did not want to do. And so I think the more voices around supporting, encouraging, you'll be fine. Get in a group with other young mums and talk about the realities of, hey, sleepless nights, struggling when your baby won't breastfeed, all those things. Talk about that stuff more than getting your nails done and get your hair done, what fashion you're going to wear, what labels you want to wear. Just encourage young women and older women that you're bringing a beautiful, precious gift into this world. You had the privilege of living. Why not give that child the privilege of living?
So you're perfectly summarising, not only do we call out abortion for what it is, which is the murder of an innocent preborn human being in the womb of their very own mother, but you're also saying focus on the beauty of motherhood, support others in that motherhood,
absolutely,
and nurture that precious life that you've been gifted with. I think that's incredible.
But it's nothing to be ashamed of. Hey, lots of people have sex young, Don't be ashamed of the consequence of having sex. You created
babies,
That's how they come. So the thing is, if you really don't want to have a baby, well, you better do something about it before you indulge in the sexual act.
Yes.
So maybe more education around that, more money spent around that over murdering a young life. And then the thing is too, it must be expensive for the medical profession to abort that many babies, to do those procedures. There must be a lot of them that don't want to do it, but it's just like a job to them. That's like, to me, how could you just go and pull out an innocent, beautiful baby and go home and sleep at night? They can't.
To put taxpayers in the position where they're actually now funding, for free abortions in New Zealand and very cheap abortions in Australia, because our tax-paying money, hard-working tax-paying money, is going towards fueling and funding this industry. But also now midwives and doctors are in a position, like you've said, where they're saving a life on one hand and then forcefully destroying another on the other. And that's a grave injustice.
Well, there's so many, couples, and, I've talked to so many couples who can't have children, and the IVF system is not working for them. They've had so many attempts and it's not working for them. So you've had the opportunity to carry a beautiful, precious child. And I know that a lot of people, they have surrogate mums and things like that. But, if you find you're pregnant, if anyone ever listens to this, go talk to people and see if there is somebody they know that so badly would love to have a child, and maybe start a conversation. The other thing is, if a woman says she really doesn't want to have children, why can't the government pay for sterilisation of a woman or a man? Pay for that instead of aborting a baby. Because there are a lot of people that have decided, I don't want to have children, and then maybe down the track they've fallen pregnant. They're like, oh my gosh, this is what we did not want. Well, go and get sterilised. Go and have a vasectomy. Go and get
anything but
anything but murder a child. Because I know a lot of people can't sleep at night, and I know a lot of people that have forgiven themselves because of their ignorance of the time and the stress and the the anxiety and the shame and all those things that they shouldn't feel. They felt it. But at the end of the day, now, and people like you start advocating at the other side, because you realise that I did something that really I didn't understand the full effect of murder because I was told that it's okay. And I think that every woman that I've spoken to, and that's quite a few of you, have this deep regret, and some of them have never been able to have children.
Yeah. And that's proven that infertility can be a cause of abortion.
Yeah.
And not only that, but drug abuse, substance abuse, suicide, mental health struggles, all of these things as a consequence of a mother going against her natural instinct to protect and nurture her own child. But in your advocacy work with the sisterhood and the legacy group, women can come and seek that.
Yeah, and they'll get the help and the encouragement. At the end of the day, you know, we wouldn't tie people up and force them not to, but with everything within us, we would try and persuade them out of taking the life and bring a wraparound system to them and have somebody that they could check in with and talk to. But the whole thing for me is that, you know, with me having 10 grandchildren, you know, 5 greats, they're just the most delightful little creatures that you could ever imagine. I could not even imagine not having any of them in my life. And a lot of grandparents are robbed. And they don't even know.
I've heard mothers or women say that their mothers took them to have an abortion.
You know, how was that?
Yeah, I had a woman I knew who had a late-term abortion. Her mum flew her across interstate because of the restrictions in WA at the time, and her mum took her to abort her late-term baby. You know, and trying to then come to terms with that betrayal of your own mother to her own grandchild. Yeah, that's very
selfish lady. A very selfish, obviously mentally disturbed grandmother.
Yes, and now, you know, like you said, you can see your own children having children, and what an ongoing blessing it is.
And when they decided that they didn't want to have any more, like we all decide we're going to do something about it.
Responsibility.
Yeah, be responsible so that you don't ever, you know, think that it's not an accident anyway. God knows everything. I know people that have gone and had vasectomies and 2 years later they end up with this baby, like, what happened here? But, you know, some things are meant to be. I think that some cultures put shame on their young people, that they, you know, maybe they live away from home, they're at university, and so they, you know, to them, being able to go and talk to a counsellor and stuff and know that no one's ever going to find out. But then down the track, they carry the guilt where they've had to tell maybe their fiance or husband, hey, look, you know, this has happened and I actually do not know whether I'd ever be able to have children. Is there that honesty, you know, in a relationship that could happen? Because a lot of people, they get together, when we have children, they'll talk about that, but then there's this deep secret going on. Am I going to be able to have a child? So they don't realise that there's a whole lot of danger to them too, and consequences to them making a decision that harms a lot. It takes a life away, but also can harm them.
So going into next year, which will be an election year here for you, your pro-life policy and your stance, I'm guessing, won't be budging, won't be moving.
No, and I won't be having anyone in my party that even considers agreeing with it. I think somewhere there's got to be a line in the sand where somebody stands on this side and somebody stands on that side, and then people can make a decision. Hey, you know, at the end of the day, I said I'd run 3 times. Do I really, really care? Am I so, you know, passionate about getting? No, I like the campaigning. I like being able to say the things that I believe in. I like to be a voice. But at the end of the day, people have to make a decision. Sometimes people are afraid to connect to somebody like me because of the backlash and stuff like that. So they could say, look, I really like the fact that she stands against abortion. Then they've got an auntie or a sister who's had one and go, how dare you, now you're judging me. But I think people have got to learn to vote and do things for their own conviction, not the conviction of a whole lot of other people, because you're the one that has to sleep in your bed at night. Do you sleep well or do you toss and turn?
And you need to put your vote exactly where you intend it to go. You can't complain about it later.
No.
It's done.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, thank you so much, Anna.
Pleasure.
And we'll be supporting you in any way we can.
Awesome. Thank you.